Hello, YouTube, and welcome to the In Your Head podcast, and welcome to part 2 of episode 15, starring Shane Costales. I'm your host, Jesse, and with me on the couch in just a moment when I cut back to this video is going to be Shane Costales. This was one of my longer videos to start off with, and so I don't want you guys to miss any of this, so I've left it in its entirety. I've just cut out Shane's bathroom break, and so I'm going to take you right back to the action, just post-bathroom break, right now. It was good, brother, so if you do see this, man, we miss you. So back to Shane. He's back. He's back from the head.
Your new, sink is really cool.
Yeah, it looks like a pump, like the old lever pump thing.
It's really neat.
Yeah, so I just finished a new bathroom, and we put all the top-notch, really cool shit in there, so...
This is very indicative of who I am. Of course, in the middle of a podcast, I have to use the bathroom.
I'd rather you go and then be uncomfortable for the remainder of the podcast.
I figured that, there we go.
Because then it's going to be, awkward, and you're going to be distracted, and...
There you go. In your head first.
Hey, why not? It only took... What are we on? This is maybe 13, I think. So, so that's not too bad. Lucky number 13, so you get to go to the head.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Well, we can make you episode 14, then. We can skip
okay.
episode
We
13.
Can do 13.
So yeah, I mean, it was a good game. I mean, Vegas, it rolls around. It figures that we'd like Fallout New Vegas, and we're both so close to gambling in some way or another.
Yeah, and the Fallout series has a very special place in my heart. I remember playing the second game when I was younger and being like, this is really cool, this whole world.
Oh, the isometric?
The isometric old game, because even for that time. Oh yeah, thank you.
Just so you can, so people can see a little.
Even during even at that time, it was so in depth, and you had so much you could do. And then when 3 came out, I remember being like, I haven't seen a Fallout game in so long.
Yeah.
I can't believe they're making another one. And then I played it, and I was like, this is incredible. But as far as games that I love and stuff like that, like I said, I was gonna say The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
I had never played a Witcher game before the third one. I kind of caught up on the rest of the series after playing the third one, and even then, I can confidently say I think the third one's the best. But that was a game that we talk about. I just brought up how Fallout 4, they gave your character a voice.
Yeah. Which
completely misses the entire point of Fallout 4. Whereas Witcher 3, Geralt of Rivia is a character. He is a pre-established character. He has a background and everything. You are not just bro that gets thrown into this.
Yeah. It's not like Skyrim where it's like you're just a guy.
You're just a prisoner who turns out to be some prophesized warrior. Whereas Witcher 3, Geralt has all of these different things that he can do, but at the end of the day, it's your decision how Geralt handles these situations.
Okay, I haven't played the Witcher games, to be honest.
They're very, very good. And to go back to my favorite game, Knights of the Old Republic,
right,
and Knights of the Old Republic 2, the second game kind of gives you, the first game, it's kind of clear-cut, at the end of the game, you can play dark side or light side. But at the end of the game, you kind of know which side was probably canon. If this was a book, how things would have really gone down. Whereas in the second game, you can go light side or dark side, and the story is still pretty much, intact. And it's a little more rewarding. Because, when you play as dark side in Knights of the Old Republic 1, you just feel like you're just being a dick. I'm just being a dick so I can get lightning powers. Whereas in the second game, it kind of... one of the best things to do in the second game is go the gray path. As Star Wars fans will know, the gray Jedi, the true balance of the Force.
Okay.
Some light side and some dark side. You can do that in the second game, and it feels more effective. You can do more with that. And that's what I find really neat.
Nice. So it's I guess what I've seen from a lot of the guests that we've had on is that the people who like the RPGs and people who pick an RPG, because it actually I probably should get a count of like which games people have picked, but a lot of them have been RPGs that have that something that grabs you.
Yeah.
I mean, just the most recent, the previous episode, Vegas Lancaster, was Earthbound.
That's a very good one.
Yeah, and it was something different. It was an RPG that had a story that, again, a little more linear. You know, back in the SNES days, what would you expect? But it just had that story that really grabbed you. And, I mean, we've had people saying Final Fantasy and Fallout. So, yeah, a lot of them were RPGs that did that.
And the thing is, like, we live in an age now where, like, the open world game is king.
Yeah.
Give me a giant open world and let me do whatever I want. And long gone are the days of a really well-told linear story of you progress through the levels and stuff like that. And it always is refreshing to find a game that can combine levels of like linear storytelling with an open world.
Yeah.
Which is why I like Knights of the Old Republic as a series. You're able to do that. It's why I like The Witcher 3. It's a very linear story, but there's just so much to do.
Nice.
And that's what's really cool. Fallout and Skyrim is a whole different monster because it really is a giant world. The main quest doesn't really matter. You really do the main quest so that you can get the sweet weapon at the end, or like, you know, you get to the end game material, which is like, I've beaten the game, what do I do now? I guess I'll just go hunt super mutants. That's what you go do.
Yeah, I have a locker full of 8 million rounds of ammunition sitting in my house. I'm like, I'm gonna go kill some stuff.
Right,
and
exactly.
Yeah, it was because it almost, and I guess it kind of goes back to the gambler / reward part of your brain, because then you're like, ooh, I got more stuff. I go here. Ooh, I got more stuff. It 100% just makes you go, oh man, I really.
After Fallout 3, after beating Fallout 3 and getting the broken, I remember waiting for the Broken Steel add-on to come out because it lets you continue to play after the game was done.
Right.
I remember then I was like, all right, that was the character I beat the game with. He was my highest level. Now I'm going to go collect all the bobbleheads. Or I'm going to go hunt down all the super mutant behemoths. Or I'm going to go collect every unique weapon in the game. Like, I don't even use the can opener or whatever it was called. And I don't even use that, but I'm going to go get it. Why? Because it's going to sit in a locker, and I'll know it's there. I don't even get to display it in a pretty little thing, which is what Fallout 4 did, and it's funny. I would rather have a locker just filled with stuff that I know I like than be able to sit and meticulously build this whole settlement. Like, that's a neat feature for a game. That's a fun little thing to do, but you shouldn't base what was it, 80% of your DLC on that, and like an entire story arc of that game, like side with the Minutemen, build all the settlements. That was boring, and I'm not that kind of gamer. Like, I don't play Minecraft. Or better yet, when I do play Minecraft, I don't sit and build wonderful things. I'm like, I mine. Yeah. I want sweet loot so I can make better weapons to go fight bigger monsters.
Yeah, I don't have a chest full of diamonds yet. It's just, I need more. I need to just get more shit.
I need more shit. Like, I don't need to build something that, like, oh, look at this house I built. I'm like, great. Like, my dad has a funny story about playing Legos with his friend Chris. Chris built this spaceship. He's like, look at this spaceship. And what did my dad build? He built a rock out of Legos and was like, this is a meteor, and just threw it at the spaceship, and it exploded into 1,000 pieces. And you know what? That's me as a gamer too. Like, I get that. I understand why you do that. I want to destroy stuff and get sweet loot. I don't care about building stuff or like artistic, like, I don't care about making things look pretty. I don't. Like, as a gamer, no. Like, I'm not about aesthetic. That's just how I am as a gamer. It's
about the good time you have. So speaking of gamers and such, before this started, as I do to every one of my guests, I gave you a piece of paper with 11 circles on it.
Oh, yeah.
And I asked you to draw something, and we're going to show what you drew to the crowd here. So let me bring that right up for everybody. So this is what Shane has wrought for all of you. So if you can kindly describe what this is for our viewers.
It is a beholder.
All right.
It is a monster from outer space in the D&D, specifically like the Forgotten Realms and uh, Greyhawk fantasy settings. Pretty much, they're just giant, like, spheres with one big ass eye and like little eyes and these green tentacles and a giant like mouth. They live in space and shit, and they're like an iconic D&D monster. And when I was looking at that, I was just like, as soon as I saw the circles, I was like, it kind of looks like a beholder, just without not drawn in.
Yeah, you're the first person to use all the circles for one drawing.
Okay.
So that's definitely a new one. So you're the first one to put them all into something like one big item. I mean, Cody's used them on a theme, and he used all the circles.
Yes.
But this was it was interesting. I mean, because I didn't quite know what you were doing as you started to work it. You worked the body. Excuse me. You worked the body first, and I thought you were going with a donut.
Yeah.
Because you started to draw the big red ring around it and filled it in. You didn't fill that eye in the middle in that's down there.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, it's a donut. I was trying to see where you were going with it. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool because it's got the middle circle and you were going around. I was like, that's neat. But then it just got crazy, and I was like, that's not a donut anymore.
No.
That's an angry donut. And
yeah, it's the eye, the big eye, the eye of the beholder.
There you go,
if you will.
Yep. And it was interesting. So because we talked about D&D, so I know it's definitely a love of yours.
It's a love of mine, and it's one that's recently on my brain. I've been playing into campaigns, and to bring up Star Wars again, the reason I'm playing Knights of the Old Republic is I'm planning on running a Star Wars role-playing game campaign. Something I kind of had an idea for, but I definitely have D&D on the brain.
There you go. So yeah, so I can definitely see where this came from, and that's totally fair because that's what a lot of people when they do these they definitely have a lot of stuff from their life kind of comes out.
Yeah.
When that happens. So so I always bring it down a little bit at this point in the interview because I do have a question that I ask everybody. I'm still trying to figure out better ways to word this, but if you had died today or today was your last day on Earth and you look back at your life, how would you feel about your legacy that you'd leave, as far as the way you'd be remembered by people or the relationships that you've had and and things like that?
Well, I mean, my legacy I feel is intact considering I'm the first guy to pee during your podcast.
That's pretty good. That will last forever on YouTube.
But all kidding aside,
bring that mic down a little bit for me, would you?
Let me
please?
Do that.
Yeah,
there we go. I want to say that there are a lot of things I want to do. Should I do them is another question.
Well, I know we haven't accomplished everything yet, and I've said this to everybody because I know we're all a little younger. So if I interviewed somebody older, I'd hope that they would say they've completed most of the stuff they wanted to do. But I know at our age we haven't. But more about the life you've led as far.
I know that everybody that I love and care about knows that I love and care about them, and that's probably the best thing that anybody can have. Like, on it is just knowing that the people you care about know that you care about them, and I know I can confidently say that I make sure to do that. And if that's the only thing I was remembered for, that's not a bad thing.
That's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd much, especially going back to what you were saying earlier about the two people. You could be, if you had never been told about that guy who killed 6 people with a shotgun, you look at the way he was, and you look and you said, he was the nicest guy to me.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you never knew that about him, and you never knew, but you'd remember, like, he was a great guy. That he was a nice dude. He cared about what I was saying. He asked me about my life as a dealer, and he was talking to me, as opposed to a woman who was like this woman of God, and then comes out and it's like, and is just an absolute monster.
Yeah.
And it's almost like I'd rather be remembered as this guy.
And at least that the mass murderer, the people he cares about, they probably know that he cares about them.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if he was in the mob, they're all about family. It's all about The Sopranos is my favorite TV show of all time, and it's not because it's about the mob. It's the best portrayal of a family through the good and bad.
Yeah.
Like, Tony's not he's a likable character, but he's not a very good person. But the one thing he truly cares about is his family.
Yeah.
And you notice that. Like, there's just scenes of, like, him and his family just eating food. And they'll just, like, the last episode of season 1, he's sitting there, and his kids are real young, because it was, like, 1999 when it came out. And he just says, this is why everything's worth it, these moments right here. They're just sitting in Artie Bucco's restaurant, sitting there eating food, not yelling at each other, not mad about anything, not worrying about anything, just sitting there eating food as a family, knowing that they love each other. And that's really the only thing that is worth it.
Yeah.
And if that's, like I said, if that was the only thing I was remembered for, is that the people I care about knew I love them. That's all that really matters.
That's a pretty good way to be. I mean, that's better than what most people can say. You know, instead of just walking through life going, "I made money." You know, look at all the money I made. That doesn't.
And those are personal things. That is a very personal. Like, do I wish I had more money? Yes. Do I wish I have more money before I inevitably pass? Of course. Do I want to leave a mark on the world? Absolutely. Be remembered for being a comedian, or like I'm a talented cook or chef. If I could own a restaurant, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Anything like that. Those are bonuses to life.
Yeah. It's much better to leave that legacy than just just go through life being just doing whatever for yourself. It just doesn't, because that's what people are going to remember you for. Yeah, exactly. It's very unfulfilling. So if there was a point in your life that you could go back to, not like a day or whatever, but a time in your life that you could spend that time, that time in your life and spend eternity there.
Honestly, I can't think of a specific time that I would love to just be there, but a time that I would like to go back to, maybe. Yeah. What would it be?
Like some people, like, for example, I know you haven't seen these episodes because I've been asking this question long, but some people have said this year of college, because when I was in freshman year of college, it was so much fun. I met these great guys. One person had said, when I met my wife, that was fantastic. I'd go back there because that was like the greatest time. The first couple months we knew each other, things like that. I don't necessarily mean, oh man, July 3rd. 2007. It was it. No, because if you pull some Rain Man shit like that on me right now, they're probably going to throw your ass out of the casino if you do that crap.
Yeah. Okay. I think I could come up with something. Around the time that I met Aubrey, who you've met, my fiance.
Yeah.
The love of my life. Around that time, a lot of different things were going on, but there was a chunk of time when Aubrey came to stay with me, and I had just moved out of my parents' house. Wasn't staying with family or anything like that. I was on my own. I was living with my buddy Mark. We had our own place together. It was a shithole, but it was a fun shithole. We had bed bugs, all kinds of horrible things in this place, but it was a lot of fun, and things were okay. I didn't like my job at the time, but you know what? It allowed me to do the fun stuff with my friends and the people I care about.
Yeah.
And going back to that, so honestly, probably that chunk of time when I first moved into my first apartment and getting to live with my fiance and one of my best friends, and just having a fun time, and being on my own and working a job that paid money and stuff like that.
Yeah.
At the first time where I truly felt independent.
Yeah, that's an awesome choice.
Yeah. Now I wish I could go back to living with my parents every day, but like that when that first feeling of true independence.
Yeah.
is really nice.
Yeah, because you had your friends there. You were just doing whatever you wanted,
Right.
and yeah, that's probably why the same people were saying the same for like, oh, my freshman year of college, because they kind of felt the same way. They're like, I'm out
Yeah.
with these new people. I'm on my own.
I pretty much dropped out of community college
Well,
and then went to film school for like online for like a year.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I could see the similarities in why they said
Oh,
why
yeah.
they did. You know what? You know, college or not, but I can see why somebody would say it's that independence, and it kind of grabs you to say, you know, like, wow, I felt like a person for once
Yeah,
instead of a child.
yeah, exactly. You feel like it's a wonderful nightmare, is what it is.
Yeah, it's scary as hell.
Yeah.
It's terrifying when you do that for the first time,
Yeah.
and you're like, yeah, I got my own place, and I'm ready to try to be an adult, and it's like, wow, it's horrifying.
Oh yeah.
And even when you're, you know, at a point like this, you know, it still is, because you're like, oh, I have a house, and that's great and well and good, and then you're like,
the responsibilities of coming with that.
It stops. Yeah, there's a certain point in time where you can just be like, you stop and think like, oh shit, if I lost my job, this all goes away.
Yeah.
And it's something that kind of looms with you forever. But to live in that thought and that feeling and be with your friends, it's just to have that for the first time is a hell of a cool feeling, and I think I can see why people really go for it. So, so at the end of all of my podcasts, I present every guest with an ink blot.
Okay.
I hand make these ink blots for everybody, not specifically and say, oh, I'm going to make this for Shane. Yeah. No, each one is just I make one, and then I bring it out for the person. They're all just acrylic on paper, so they're not anything that's been found anywhere else in any book or anything. So this is the ink blot that I have randomly created for Shane. So what do you see? Just say what it is. Say what
Darth Nihilus from Knights of the Old Republic 2.
Wow, that went full circle, didn't it? Holy crap.
It looks it kind of looks like Darth Nihilus or like a voodoo skull. Like I don't know. I kind of see like, you know, some either like Haitian voodoo, like Papa Shango stuff from the WWE, or like Dia de los Muertos, maybe.
Oh, okay. So I see sort of the nose and the eyes, and okay,
that's kind of what I see. Is the bridge. And like this is the skull, and this is just like, you know.
Okay.
That's kind of what I see is a skull.
Wow. Yeah. Well, a lot of people seem to see faces. We're learning from this that humans love to find faces in a picture somehow.
Yeah.
And it almost doesn't matter what else is on there. They just want to find a face in there somehow. Yeah. And that is kind of weird how it comes right back to
but the first thing I saw was doing this is Darth Nihilus from Knights of the Old Republic 2.
Wow.
Because I think he has a really cool mask. And it kind of looks like a skull.
I think I might have to try to post a picture of this with the video for anybody who might not have played it, because it is a little bit of an older game, and I have younger viewers sometimes.
Yeah.
So I might have to post a picture below to show people
Darth Nihilus.
Of that. Yeah, because that sounds like it's going to work out perfect.
Just to tell you how badass he is a person that is only a physical form. His entire soul and essence has been controlled by the dark side. His robe and mask are the only physical parts of him.
Oh.
Everything else is literally he's entirely made of dark side energy.
Wow.
He's
okay.
horrifying.
So it's real.
Well, really good villain.
Real dark side.
Really good villain.
So that is yours to hang on to. That is yours to keep as a memento from this.
Sweet.
So, so is there anything else you wanted to add? I mean, obviously, I know we're not plugging anything.
No, we're not plugging anything. I'm probably as a guest, I'm probably the least interesting of stuff that I actually do. I work a full-time casino job.
I don't find that as true as true at all, because I think we've covered what you do on the regular more than we had talked about with anybody else on here.
And the one thing I'll say is like I know you've had a lot of comedians on here that I know and that we've done stuff with, who a lot of them I consider friends, stuff like that, and I know I've been gone from the scene for a few months. Can't say that I'm going to be making my return to the stage anytime soon, but I definitely have ideas for returns for comedy. I've got a couple ideas that I'm floating around for of YouTube shows that I kind of want to get off the ground, maybe do something with the brief knowledge I got from film school.
Okay.
And yeah, just stuff like that. Like trying to start a podcast. Want to do movie reviews. I love movies. That's
Nice.
like probably another passion of mine is talking about movies.
Awesome. I mean, there's so many people do love movies out there. I mean,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
a lot of people who, there's so many movies you can be into.
Yeah.
It's that you can just be like, I love horror movies.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you can watch movies until the day you die and not have watched everything.
And it's funny because like I can watch a horror movie and I can dissect it. I can boil it down. Like, is it a good horror movie? Is it technically good? Like, was it directed well and stuff like that? But at the end of the day, really, like, I could be like, this is a very well made horror movie. Like, oh, did you like it? Like, no, I didn't. I thought it was boring. Um, like
yeah.
people are like, I could break down like the Conjuring films, and I'm like, they are by the numbers horror films. Like, it's like James Wan opened a book and then went, this is how you make a horror movie, and did that, and it's well executed.
Right.
But do I find it scary? Do I find it effective at what it does? No. I stuff like that. But like, you can also, at the same token, though, I can watch a film that's very by the numbers, but as long as it's done well with some character, like one of my favorite movies is The Rocketeer. Remember that movie?
Oh yeah, wow, that was an oldie. That's a long time ago.
I loved that movie
as
a kid, and I just watched it recently, and I'm like, watched it again recently. I probably watch it every couple of years. Like, I'll be on Netflix, I'm like, oh, The Rocketeer. But that's such a simple story. It's like, guy down on his luck. His girlfriend's like breaks up with him. He finds this thing that lets him become extraordinary and do his talent, and he fights Nazis. And it's a very simple story, but it's done so well that you kind of have to go, wow, this is like a really well-made movie. It's not the best movie in the world. It's not like most intricate. It's not like a Christopher Nolan movie where it's like, oh my god, so many different fucking things are going on.
Yeah, but I think they might have been limited by technology back then
were.
too. So, I mean, that movie, if they redid, not a shot for shot, but I don't want them to change the whole movie. But if you take that movie, use the same plot, use it the same way, but do it in a way that we can with today's technology, it might hold up.
And the thing is, like, though, like, to go back to Christopher Nolan just for a second, the movie Interstellar, I don't like it. And it's because it feels like a movie that Christopher Nolan sat down and was like, I have this awesome idea, and I'm going to spend years working on it. It's going to be my passion project. But really, all he did was make a jumbled mess with, like, schmaltz thrown into, like, the whole thing, like, the aliens are really love. And stuff like that, but as far as filmmaking goes, it's a piece of art.
Yeah.
Like, it looks incredible. The shots are incredible. It's wonderful. But it fails in telling a coherent story. Whereas, like, The Rocketeer, it's not the prettiest looking movie in the world. It's neat for the costume design and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it tells a good story, and filmmaking can be one of two things. It can be, this film is a work of art because of the way it's directed and worked, and the director knew not to give a shit about plot.
Yeah.
You can't give a shit about plot. You can either give a shit about plot, really care about artistic integrity and like the way your film looks and all of that, the way it sounds and all that. Very few directors can do both.
Yeah. That's extremely true. And I've definitely seen that in a lot of movies.
Yeah.
Like, because the perfect movie I can think about that is Hardcore Henry.
Hardcore Henry is great.
It's a great look. They got a great new look to it.
But who gives a shit about the plot?
Yeah.
Exactly.
They didn't apparently either when they wrote it. They cared not. So,
it's like the John Wick movies. They are just meant to be awesome action films.
Yeah.
Who cares about the dialogue? Who cares? Like, the only plot points you need, the only exposition you need is that John Wick was a hitman. They killed his dog and stole his car. Now he's going to kill people.
Yeah,
that's
he's gonna fuck some shit up.
That's why the first one's so good. It's about 10 minutes of exposition, and then Keanu Reeves shooting people in the face from like point blank range, and it's incredible. Whereas there's films with very like complex plots that I think, like, going back to Christopher Nolan, he's the big one. He's people love him or hate him. I'm kind of in between about him. I think Inception's a very good movie. Do I think the plot makes total sense? Absolutely not. But I think it makes just enough sense that it's coherent. Whereas when I watch Interstellar, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? This movie fucking sucks.
I can totally see how that, because I've got movies going through my head right now that were just great movies. So I thought I guess it seems to happen with movies I watched, and that's what's, as you say, that's what seems to get me out of a movie. If the plot is not like, oh, it can be so great looking. Another one, District 9. What do you feel about that?
I love District 9 because it's a very slow-paced movie, but it's not so much plot-driven as it is a commentary. It's a commentary on apartheid.
Right.
And when you watch the movie knowing that, and like the struggle of people in South Africa during that time, and like the symbolism with the prawns coming in there and stuff, it's a really good movie. Plus, it looks cool. It's like it has some really cool action in it. The special effects are really neat.
Yeah. My problem was I wasn't taking it as a commentary. I wanted to go see a cool movie.
Right, that's the thing. It's not one of those cool movies.
I was like, oh, this feels weird now that it's over. How did we get here? What happened? And then it was over. I'm like, huh?
And if you want a movie that is like aliens coming to Earth and crazy shit happening, you should either watch Mars Attacks, which is hysterical, or an alien invasion movie that's good. There's not many of them.
No, but they could all be fun and worth the time for sure.
I'll be honest. I hate Independence Day. I love Independence Day 2. I loved the second one because
I haven't seen it.
It is a schlocky piece of shit that they know is a schlocky piece of shit. Whereas the first one was a schlocky piece of shit that they were like, this is a legit action movie. Like, this is on the level of, like, Terminator 2. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. No, it's not. It's horrible. It's like...
it was fun, though.
Oh, it's a blast. Well, it's like, all right, whether you like the movie or not, Titanic came out, and it was an action movie that happened to have a love story in it. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Because James Cameron's an action director, and he makes action movies that he was like, how do I make $1 billion on an action movie? I'll throw a schmaltzy love story into it.
Yeah.
And it worked. Whereas
it worked really good.
After that, they tried to do Pearl Harbor, which was, we need an action movie about like World War II. Let's throw a love triangle in it. And it's a piece of shit. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
The movie's a big piece of shit, and I hate it.
Well, I would definitely like to see this come about if you were going to do a movie podcast.
If I was to talk about how much I hate Pearl Harbor.
Well, any movie in general. I mean, I like how you can talk about the real part of the movie, and you don't just go into like one specific part of it. I mean, you can dissect it fairly, which I guess film school is great for.
Film school will give you credibility and make you sound smart. It could also make you sound like an asshole, which is why I dropped out of film school. But the thing is, like, I've watched movies that are made by great directors that suck.
Yeah.
I've watched really bad movies that I've loved because at least I was entertained. Like, The Fucking Room is a perfect example of that. It's a horrible movie that I had more fun watching than I had fucking Interstellar. And it's not even a new movie. Why am I keep bringing that up? I don't know. I don't know.
This is something you may have to go into. So make sure you jot this down.
My hatred of Interstellar.
Just make sure you jot it down because it sounds like it's something that you could really like get worked into and get a good episode out of it.
Maybe an idea for a podcast is I have a guest on and just we have to watch Interstellar.
That could be a good first episode.
Like just 2.5 hours of me being annoyed and asking like, anyways. Here's this fucking question. God, I fucking hate this movie. Like, and then I pause it and talk about why it sucks. And my guest is like, I'm here to plug my show. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck about your show. Let's talk about fucking Interstellar. This movie sucks. And if you like it, I want you out of here.
It could be either a really good or a really short podcast.
If I just like he harassed me for an hour and a half and wouldn't talk about it, kept talking about how much this fucking movie sucked.
Now I'm gonna get off on a tangent because we're gonna go there now, so we might as well go there. You look at a lot of stuff on entertainment that's out there now, and that ambush media kind of stuff
Yeah.
seems to work.
Like Eric Andre show or
Yeah.
something like that. Oh, it's great.
I watch that show and I sit there and I stare at my television and I go like this. It's really the face I have to make.
Because it's one of those things where it is like you love it or hate it, but even if you hate it, you're shocked. Like Eric Andre achieves that goal of shocking you, whether you were like, I'm never going to watch this again, or I'm tuning in every day.
Right.
And it's so I know it's an interesting piece of psychology.
Yeah.
And I know you're a big fan of that.
Well, look at this podcast. It's showing exactly what we're talking about here.
And I'm fascinated by psychology and sociology, like especially about the things I love. Like I love food. I'm a chef and stuff like that.
Right.
I could talk about psychology of food all day. But to not go off on a tangent, like
oh no, we're well past there.
Yeah.
I have a feeling, seeing as my guests who may be watching this, or my viewers who are watching this, may already be in part 2 of this. I have a feeling I'm going to divide this into two parts. So we might as well go on a tangent at this point. So
like watching Eric Andre and seeing his go off and fucking like do insane shit, like when he went to the RNC and like almost incited like violence against him. That shit was insane. But it's a fascinating piece of psychology. Like he takes these guests on, he tells them like, look, I'm gonna fuck with you, but don't worry, it's not gonna be that big of a deal. And it is a total big deal.
Yeah, and you see the guests, and I watch it on television when these guests are sitting there going,
what the
they're
fuck
looking,
am I doing?
What's happening here? Is this what's happening? Yeah, it just didn't make any. I guess to me, it was just hard for me to follow it. Like I just don't get why.
It's almost, there is no reason why. It's almost like this sick, twisted madman just finds it funny.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I guess I'm a sick, twisted madman that also kind of finds it funny because, like, honestly, the parts of that show I love is just his co-host Hannibal Buress cracks me. He's one of my favorite comics.
Oh, he is. He's good.
And just like little shit, like they had Lauren Conrad on, and he just asks her out of the blue, like, "You listen to Waka Flocka?" She's like, "Is that a band?" It's a man. Just the way he says that. It's a man. I lost it. Like I say that all the time now. That's part of my vocabulary because of Hannibal Buress being funny as shit on that show, and that cracks me up. It's just their dynamic as comics. I really like.
Well, I think that now that I'm looking at it and I'm thinking back, because I do try to tie this stuff together because I'm paying attention during this whole episode, folks. Believe it or not, I think that it looks like it feels to me like it ties back to what we said earlier about the spaceship and the rock.
Oh yeah.
There's the people who build the spaceship. There's the people who want to see that something, and then there's the people who build the rock. Just to see what happens.
To quote Alfred, some people just want to watch the world burn. And that's true. Like it can be a subconscious desire to do that. Like, something probably very deep on almost a Freudian level of like, I enjoy watching things get destroyed. It's like I'm the kind of person that would enjoy watching a train wreck or something so horrible yet beautiful about it, versus the other type of person that's like, I'm the person that would be devastated because I built that train.
Yeah. I guess going back to gaming, even you look at certain games that were out there, DayZ or Rust. Or
which
any of those
I'm very into. I play both of them.
Any of those multiplayer online games, or Minecraft, making Minecraft servers.
You could even go PUBG or
exactly.
Fortnite.
Yeah, well, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, I think, is hard to say of what I'm thinking of this, because when you look at games like DayZ, you didn't have to go against people. You didn't have to turn against humans.
You could actually help.
Right, but in PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, it was once it was done. You had to get down to one.
You have to get down to one.
Right. So it's hard to say, like, it's hard to team up. That's kind of a thing where you're going to have to betray somebody. So like in a game like Rust or DayZ, where it's like, you don't have to go after other people. You don't have to. You can survive. You can do your thing. But there's the people who want to create havoc.
I have a really bad DayZ story if you'd like to hear it.
Why we're going there.
Okay,
so let's hear.
Okay.
I gotta get this out of the way.
Yeah. I got a really,
let's
horrible day to go back.
Let's.
So in the early days of DayZ, before it went standalone, back when it was a mod,
right?
I was playing it one night. I used to have a whole crew of friends that I played with. This is when I was living in Connecticut. One night I'm just on a server by myself. And it's the middle of the night in the server, so everything's dark, so I'm throwing flares everywhere to try and illuminate things. Well, I'm on top of the roof of a hospital when I just see pop up friendly ? Another player. Now, I'm always afraid of it. I'm always because that's the kind of game where you collect all this stuff and you just get killed by somebody immediately.
Yeah.
He writes friendly, so I type back friendly. Yes, friendly. He's like, yeah, this dude helps me kill a couple zombies until we run out of, like, I had a silenced pistol and he had, like, a melee weapon. I ran out of silenced pistol ammo, so the only thing I had left was, like, a revolver, which makes tons of noise and draws every zombie. So I kill a zombie with that and we book it and we make it to the woods. And we killed all the zombies. We're all fine. It was me and this dude. And now, when he came and found me, I had been looking for a box of matches for like 3 hours. Just a fucking box of matches. I've been looking for it for 3 hours so I could go out in the woods. I had like everything else I would need to like survive on my own. Because that's the first goal. You need to be able to take care of yourself, and then you can go and search for like, better guns and armor and stuff like that. This guy has a box of matches, and he's like, hang on, let me make a campfire. And I'm like, all right, cool. So we're cooling, we're warming up because it's the middle of the night and it's like a frozen place. We're all cold. And then he's like, what were you looking for? And I was like, a box of matches. He's like, I've been looking for a map. Do you have a map? And I'm like, I do have a map. He's like, how about we trade? I'll give you the box of matches. You give me the map. And what I did instead was I shot him in the head and took his fucking box of matches because I went, this isn't the real world. This is a video game. I could do whatever I want. He could call me a dick all day, but I technically didn't do anything wrong in the game.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't cheat. I didn't do anything, and that's how my brain works in a video game. You're playing the game.
Yeah.
So I killed this guy for a box of matches after he helped me out. And was that horrible? Yes. Did I feel bad about it? Yes. But now I understand every character in, like, a survival movie. Like, you watch The Road or The Rover, and you're like, the post-apocalypse. Like, I get it now. Because I was like, I was so... Here's the thing. If I didn't spend 3 hours looking for that box of matches, I probably wouldn't have killed him.
Yeah.
I probably would have just traded the map for the box of matches. Like, if that was the first thing, like, man, I need a box of matches, and he shows up and we trade it, it would have been fine. But the fact that I had been out there for 3 goddamn hours looking for this box of matches, and then this guy just happens to have one, I almost felt owed that box of matches.
That is my box of matches, and it's my map. You're fucking out of luck, buddy.
And that was what happened in that game. And that's horrible, because I'm sure there's people in the real world that would do that. But it's a video game, and you're able to kind of explore that psychological thing.
Yeah.
And those games are I try not to play them too much anymore, because they bring you to dark places like that.
Yeah, and I think because the people who realize that and just go, I don't give a shit. My actions don't mean anything. And they just do it.
Now, and it's funny, because in video games and stuff like that, I will do stuff like that because I'm like, it's just a game. I'm able to differentiate that. I feel that, but because in real world, I'm all about, like, helping out people. Like, it's the right thing to do. Like, there are people in this world too. Now, unless somebody is, doing something horrible, then I'm all about, like, no, fuck them.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's just a random stranger, what have they ever done to me? And on top of that, like, so should be no reason to have distrust and stuff like that. And you should help people when you can.
Yeah. Whereas
in a video game context, I go, like, I'm out for survival. There's zombies everywhere. Screw this. Bam. Like, and But the problem is there's definitely people in this world that don't give a shit about other people in any way.
No, and that comes back to the question I asked about, like, how people feel, because I know that there's people like that, and I wonder if that eats away at some people. Maybe they have, and maybe luckily most of the people I know that I'm friends with have never had that problem. But that goes back to the question of how do you feel as you live, because there are those people that they're like, oh, well, it's I don't want to be the guy that's remembered as somebody at my funeral just going, he was a great guy.
He was right, or like
nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to be like he was the most. He was a what's the word I'm looking for? Self-preservationist through and through. Like nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to be that. Everybody wants to be the guy that everybody likes.
Yeah,
and that's basic human needs, like that attention's a need.
Yeah,
we don't talk about it like that, but yeah, it's a need. In like when we go to work, we like being told we do a good job. It actually makes us work better. Having an employer that tells you, like, you guys did a great job, you should be proud of yourselves, makes you not hate going to work, even if you hate your job, or even if you like your job.
Yeah.
Being in a relationship and giving attention to that other person, that makes milestones. It also breaks relationships apart if you don't give attention to that other person, even if it's not like, I don't, like, I tell them I love them every day, but if you don't pay attention, listen to them or anything like that, that can destroy stuff. It's a basic human thing that we all crave, we all need.
Yeah, it's
some people love attention so much they become addicted to it.
Yeah, and
like our president. But
well, and that's the kind of people that you see doing these games. They do a lot of this stuff because they want attention.
Oh yeah.
Whether it's negative or positive, they're doing it to get attention. And they're being a dick to get people to get a rise.
That's pretty much like a D&D villain. You look at like chaotic evil. What is chaotic evil? The person that's evil for the attention of it.
Yeah.
Because it's fun.
Yeah.
Because that's why.
Just because why not?
Because why the fuck not?
Because fuck you, that's why.
It's the Joker. It's characters like that. And yeah, there's something wrong with it, but you can understand it from a psychological perspective.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you get there for one reason or another.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody gets to that point, and everybody has a reason that they like, oh, this is why.
Why are they the way they are?
Yeah, this is why I'm screwed up, and you wonder, like, oh, well, what pushed that person to that point?
What got that person to that point? And I feel like 9 out of 10 people are nurture versus nature. Like they are a product of their environment. They are this way because maybe their parents were this way, or something happened to them. That's why they're this way. They're looking out for themselves because of XYZ. There is that 1 out of 10 person that is just that way because they were born that way. They might have come from a great home. They might have never had anything terrible about them. Like, look at psychopaths and serial killers and shit like that.
It's there no matter what.
They're some of them, yes, they are products of their environment. Other ones, nope. They just woke up one day and were like, I'm going to go kill people. And that's fucking scary. But it's a fascinating. There is no true answer in psychology of whether like people are this way because of this. I personally feel that most people, 9 out of 10 people, are born with an inherent morality of like, this is being hurting. If this would hurt me, why would I do this to somebody else?
Right. And so most people understand that, and it translates into real life. And so when we see the video game part of it, it's hard it's
living a fantasy.
Yeah, you get to finally break that with very little repercussion.
It was literally none.
Well, and you say that, but that brings to the fact that you look at what happens now in some of these stories online. Somebody pisses somebody off, and now they do that swatting thing. And that's that's a scary thing. And so you see something like that now, people are tired of somebody being an asshole.
And I had this discussion with Will and Noah when I was on Plus 2 Comedy. They asked me about EVE Online, and I told them, like, there's only, like, 3 types of people that play EVE. You have your Care Bears, who are people that just do like some monotonous task and whatever, and it's almost just passing the time.
Yeah.
It's truly spreadsheet the game. You have the other people who are just they just started the game. They're just getting to know. They haven't quite figured it out. They'll probably end up quitting because the game sucks. It's a terrible game. And then the third people who are utter psychopaths. And it's those people that would like swat somebody else. It's those type of people, but they found a much more constructive within this world way of kind of getting out that aggression.
Okay.
But Eve's horrible. Like I told a story about Romanian Legion. They were a corp in Nullsec and Eve. In order to be a part of their corp, you had to give them their address, and you needed to be in like the Slavic countries, like Romania, Bulgaria, all that stuff. They would send a representative to your house, and then they would take you out to lunch, and they would sit and talk about Eve, talk about your person. And why did they do that? You're less likely to betray them if they know what you look like, and you know what they look like.
Yeah.
And
wow.
That's fucking insane.
It's
a video game. We've come so far since
wow.
Mario. Like,
yeah.
like, wow. Holy shit.
That's some dark shit that's what it's going to a game like that. But there's got to be so much money involved in transactions and
absolutely.
Things like that. Yeah.
I know that my account in Eve was worth a couple $1,000.
Yeah. It's wow. Yeah, and that's what you get from these games. I mean, fortunately, games like DayZ, it's not a game where you can end up having a fortune or amassing any kind of fortune where your account is
You're always going to lose. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
Like life, you will eventually die.
Right.
It'll be over, like, you might break your leg and it gets infected in the game, or you might get hit by... You could literally get hit by a bus. I was my third time logging in. I got hit by a bus because some guy was just speeding down the beach in a bus, and I didn't have a gun. I didn't have anything, and I'm like chatting. I'm like on the chat, like, "Yo, dude, what are you doing?" And he's like, "Crazy bus," and just hit me, and I'm like, this is the third time that I've died so far in this game. This game sucks.
Yeah, I wish I could have got more into it. Unfortunately, I tried playing it and there was so much server lag and shit, and that got really frustrating.
I remember the only time that got me to a point where I was like, okay, I'll start playing this is when my friends from work at the time, they were like, all right, we'll get on. We can all get on finally for the first time. We'll get on TeamSpeak.
Yeah.
And it'll be great. And I was like, where are you guys? And they were like, we're here. And they just popped out of some bushes that I thought they were the bushes. They had like ghillie suits and shit on.
Jesus Christ.
They were like full-blown doomsday preppers. and I was like, I have an axe. And they're like, we need to get you something better here. And like they had a stash of guns put aside. They're like,
Jesus Christ.
Take what you want. And I was like, great. And I was like, this game's way more fun when you have guns and friends and you can go kill other people. Which is immediately what we did. We just became like a roving band of marauders. and that's a whole different game. That's like people playing Dungeon Keeper or like those games where it's like, orcs, go invade the townspeople. Like, you're inherently doing something evil, but it's like for comedic value. And that's kind of what we were doing. We were killing zombies and running around and like, there's a newbie, get him. And just shooting the fucking...
Some poor asshole with an axe and underwear. And you're like, yep, he's done.
He's done. We're not even going to ask him to be on our team. We don't know him. Like, I know where Burbs lives. So if he does anything I don't like, I'll go to his house and punch him. Like, he's my friend. Like, that's the difference. Like, I'll go shit in his mailbox if I really have to. Whereas, like, that guy, I don't know him. He might be a crazy person for all I know. I might add him into our party, and then all of a sudden he shows up at my house 3 months later. Like, fuck that. I'm going to just shoot him now, and then he'll respawn on the other side of the map, and I don't want to worry about it. He'll probably get frustrated and quit like I did.
Oh,
I remember my friend Jarrett, who reviews video games. Like, he's like an independent reviewer. He's trying to get to a point where he can do it just for a living.
Yeah.
I tried to get him to play DayZ, and he was like, Shane, I broke my leg, and in real time walked around with a broken leg for an hour and a half, waiting for you to find me. Fuck this game. I'm never playing this ever again. This game sucks. I'm like, this game's great.
And you just couldn't get him on board.
I couldn't get him on board.
That game, and I think the latter half of this and the second part of what we've been talking about explains way more in the human psyche than any of the 12 episodes that I think we've talked about so far. But I mean, it shows that a game like that shows and talks about people, and little things when you think about such a small thing that most people would overlook, just a thing like one game, and it shows so much how people fit into something and how people survive and how people do what they do, or whether they faction off. And like you said, even in a game like Knights of the Old Republic, it was like, well, the light side's the way you want to go, but you do dark side for this, and it shows why your brain does what it does. Like even playing Fallout, you don't nuke Megaton on your first time playing Fallout 3.
No.
You're like, oh, I can save this place, and oh man, he gave me a house here. This is fantastic. And you get this stuff, and you're like,
and then you get to Tenpenny Tower. You're like, this place is way nicer than Megaton. I want a house here.
Yeah,
let me restart.
And I'm gonna nuke Megaton right off the map. And it's not the right thing to do, but you do it because the game's like, it gives you the choice.
Like, go ahead, do it. It's fine. It's a game.
And the game lets you do it, and it shows that there's a lot more into the human psyche that when they do this in these games that they really put in.
That's what role-playing gaming is all about. It's not so much you play you. What I find fascinating about it, it's why I love D&D and stuff. When I play a D&D game, or I play a Fallout or Knights of the Old Republic or anything, I'm not playing it. I'm not doing it as how would I play. I kind of create a character. It's like writing a book almost. You have a protagonist. You're just a protagonist. How does your protagonist do things?
Yeah.
And that's why it's so much fun, and that's why like I can role play in a game like a great hero, or like a lovable scoundrel, or like a great villain. And
that's what it should be. It's so. I think I may have said this with Jeff Stormer before, but it seemed like D&D had such a negative connotation for so long, this geek culture thing and just the way it was. But people never realized what it could just be all about. Just living that little life, being with your friends, and just have it. Just telling that story. And it got such a negative stigma for so many years, which I'm glad it's coming more into the mainstream now.
Yeah.
But it was something where you could just be with your friends and enjoy being around your buddies and having that time together. And that was all it was. You just lived a story and you told a story, which, anybody who does improv or wants to write or anything like that, any kind of comedy, it falls right into their nature.
It's one of the most creative things that I do regularly is D&D. Like sitting down with my group of friends and coming up with how we're going to do things, talking with the DM with what he wants to do and stuff like that. And I'll never forget the first time I played was when I was 17. There's kid Jordan Falciani. Like I think I'm friends with him on Facebook. So if he does click on this when I share this, it'll be great.
There you go. He's got to make sure he hangs in.
But
so.
Jordan was I was like 17, and Jordan had a bunch of us over. It was like 6 people. And he was like, "We're gonna play Dungeons and Dragons. Do you want to play?" I was like, yeah, sure. What is that though? Like what do you roll dice, right? Like that sounds lame.
Yeah.
And we started playing, and then like Jordan's kind of like, you can do whatever you want. I'm like, I can do whatever I want. And he's like, anything you want. I'm like, my friend Bobby and I, because Bobby kind of felt the same way. I was like, Bobby, let's go tip cows. Let's go cow tipping. And I'm the rogue, and he's like the cleric, and we just go and we're like, we're gonna go cow tipping, and we roll a 1, and all of a sudden ghosts show up in the farm, and we're running away from ghosts like covered in cow shit. And I was like, I can't believe we just reenacted a scene from like Tommy Boy in D&D. And that was when I was like, you can really just do whatever you want.
Yeah, just have fun with it.
Have fun with it. Like we had a blast doing that. And then, you kind of learn more about role-playing, because then I did the first thing that everybody does. I was like, I want to be a dick. I'm the rogue.
There it is.
I'm going to be a dick, because I can.
I'm going to steal my buddy's shit.
I'm going to steal I stole Bobby's crossbow.
There it is.
And I killed the tavern owner who gave us a job.
Oh, no.
Because my plan was to turn on them, because the big villain might have, been more profitable for me.
Ah,
because
okay.
I was role playing. I'm playing a shithead rogue.
Right.
Well, then my character goes to prison. There was a real life consequence.
Yeah.
And what happened was, I was like, "Well, can I break out of prison?" And Jordan's like, "You could try." And it's like, as soon as you try to break out, they just beat you up.
Yeah.
And now you're closer to death. And I'm like, "I'm never getting out of this, am I?" And he went, "Nope. I needed to teach you a lesson." And I was like, "Okay." So my next character was a monk, and I was Goku, pretty much.
Just total opposite side of the spectrum.
Complete opposite side of the spectrum. And I had more fun playing that monk who was like righteous and stalwart than I ever did trying to screw over my friends. Even though, like, if it was like a game of Monopoly, the first thing I'm trying to do is screw my friends over. But it taught me about teamwork, teaches you about like role playing and all that fun stuff. And that, yeah, it completely changed. Playing D&D for the first time completely changed me as a gamer entirely. I looked at video games at a whole different level. Yeah. It was when video games ceased to just be a time sink and it become like art to me. And D&D and stuff like that. And the one thing that I will say D&D has over every video game in the world, that adventure that you and your friends have, nobody can ever take that away from you.
Yeah.
Nobody can ever recreate that. It's just something you will have with your buds forever.
Yeah.
And whether it was good or whether it ended poorly or didn't end at all, it just kind of fell apart because somebody couldn't get off on Thursdays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which is the hardest part about D&D, is just getting a group of people to play.
Which might be the point when you say, like, I'm sure if I ask that question to somebody about where would you want to spend the rest of your life, somebody may say, "Oh, back when I was 19 and this and that,"
awesome
and
campaign.
I could get people together because we could play video games.
That year that I was living at my place, I played in the best D&D game I ever played in my whole life. My roommate was running it.
So there you go.
And me and my buddy Jarrett were the only two players. And it was great because we just played as scummy gang members. And the whole plan was, Mark was just like, "I created this world. You guys occupy it. You guys propel the story. Whatever you guys want to do, I'll write it up."
There you go.
And so it was awesome. And it was an experiment because there was only two players.
Nice.
And we had it's to this day the best D&D game I've ever played. He will definitely be watching this.
So there you go. So it does kick back to that point where you would be there, because that's something else. Yeah. So that's what D&D does. When you have those friends and you have that time, it makes a hell of a point in your life when you can just bring your friends together on a weekly basis or something like that. And it's way more than just a bunch of people sitting in their parents' basement rolling dice.
It is. And at that, on the opposite dime of that, there's nothing worse than playing D&D with somebody you don't want to play D&D with. It will depress you. It'll make you not want to go. It'll make you get lazy and sloppy as a player. So my best advice to anybody who wants to play D&D, don't play with toxic people. Play with people that you know you love and care about and you want to play with, that are fun. You know all their flaws and you're okay with them.
Yep.
Because when you get to know somebody over D&D, it can be a fucking nightmare. Because you're going to learn everything horrible about them in one fell swoop. Honestly, you meet somebody you fancy, you like them, play D&D with them. Get them to. I swear to God, you'll know if you're going to marry that person within 2 weeks.
You know, that's a hell of a good piece of advice for everybody out there.
Yeah.
And that is, it sounds silly when you say it. It does. But now you know what? When you played and you look and you go, yeah, I'm sure there's people out there who are watching this that would go, I should do that, or I should have done that.
And there's people that are like, well, how can you describe it? We can't.
You really can't.
It's like, I can't describe how meth feels. But if you did it, you would know exactly how it feels.
Yeah.
D&D it's my favorite drug, and it keeps me off of
off the real ones.
Off the real one. Like, I've never really done real drugs, so that's perfect. Like, I've always had, like, there was at that precipice of my life where it was like, you're 17, like you've smoked marijuana before, you've drank alcohol before, like, are you about to go into like, are you gonna go to hard mode? Or are you gonna go to easy mode? I went easy mode and just found D&D, which is a whole nother nightmare.
That's a pretty rough path for most people.
And it's crazy because I've also seen people who have gone the hard route, with addiction, with just substance abuse in general, who have left that and have found coping mechanisms through nerdy shit. And I can't think of anything better than nerdy shit to help. Like, to protect the names of the innocent, I have a friend who's actually, he was a friend of a friend who I've become friends with, a buddy of my friend Mark's. Mark will know who this is, who used to be a fucking criminal.
Oh,
he was a straight up criminal, until some horrible shit happened in his life, and he came to that point where I need to give it at least a shot to get out of this, and he did. And his solace that he found, instead of drugs and doing shitty things, was tabletop gaming, like Warhammer and shit like that.
Okay.
And just general nerd. Like, he'd always been kind of a nerd, but when you embrace it and that kind of does things for you, that's, dude, good for you, man. If that keeps you from doing shitty things, keep doing it, my friend.
There you go. And hell yeah, man.
Fuck yeah.
Damn right. So, I mean, nerd culture, guys, for anybody out there, it's not nerd culture anymore. So much of this stuff is mainstream. If there's something you love, go out, do it, enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Don't be afraid to say you game. Don't be afraid to say you play a tabletop game or a board game. We're all out there. We play Betrayal.
Yeah, we do. We play Betrayal.
There's things like that, and that's a hell of a game if you want to find out about your friends.
And yes, and on that same note, other thing too, don't let anybody ever make you feel bad for loving something.
Yeah.
Like, I love Star Wars. I also secretly hate Star Wars. And the thing is,
because of the Star Wars culture?
Because of the Star Wars culture. Like, it's so toxic. Like, oh, you like Last Jedi, you're a fucking idiot. Or you like the prequels, you're a fucking idiot. Look, I might think that, but I'm not going to shit on anybody for liking those things. Like, if you like the prequels, great. I think they suck, but I'm not going to preach to you and argue with you why they suck. Yeah. Oh, you didn't like Last Jedi. Like, I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was great. But you know what? I'm not going to argue with you because you didn't like it.
Right. Or you say that to some people that you thought it was okay. They're going to get...
And they're going to be like, it was the best movie ever. Fight me. And I'm like, I'm not going to fight you. I'm just going to tell you that, like, I thought it was okay, and that I think Star Wars movies and movies in general just need to have a consistent tone. That's it. And that was my biggest gripe. In 2 seconds, I was able to tell you what my problem was with that movie.
There you go.
That was it.
So no fights need to be had, folks.
No fights need to be had. No making people feel bad for liking things. No, like, if somebody likes something but they don't like it the same way as you, there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Like,
love what you love. I mean, you gotta live life for what you want to get out of it, and so few people do that anymore. I mean, for me, I have, you know me, I have a billion hobbies and a half.
Yeah.
And if I stopped doing a hobby because of what I thought somebody thought of me for doing it, I'd barely have anything. You know, I barely have any hobbies of anything I do. Like, I play disc golf, and there's so many people who would be like, oh, disc golf is weird, or, you know, it's like, oh, it's a bunch of stoners out there. I'm like, yeah, but you know what? It's a cheap sport that I can play, that I can go out and clear my head, relax. I've met great,
and that's all that matters.
I've met great people, so it's like, who cares what people say about it, or who cares what people think? And so, you know, to anything that you do, as long as you love it and you enjoy it, there's no reason to let anything anybody says stop you from doing the thing you love. Enjoy it, enjoy it in full, and, you know, don't let anybody stop you. Is the best I can say for it. And you know, and you'll have a better chance to do the things that you want to do. So, but I think I am going to have to wrap this up because I think we're getting about there. And dude, I appreciate you.
Absolute pleasure.
This has been a blast, and I can't wait for this thing to be on for all of your friends to see,
me too.
And
really
unfortunately for your dad as well.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on.
No, it was an absolute pleasure,
great.
And I'm glad I caught up with you to get you out here for this.
Yeah.
So everybody out there, do you want anybody to follow you anywhere on Twitter or anything?
No, I don't have Twitter.
No Twitter or anything.
I'll be honest, at this point on Facebook, I have unfollowed so many people that my Facebook feed is just cat videos and people falling. And that's okay with me. So you can friend me on Facebook if you want.
Okay.
I just I don't know.
We'll put a link.
Just don't get in the way of my cat videos. That's all I ask.
We'll put a link below. If you've got great cat videos for Shane, I'm sure he'll want to check them out because I see them in my news feed all the time. So I'm sure they're there. So you can I'll put a link for him below. And as always, like and subscribe, guys, because it definitely helps me keep making sure that you enjoy the videos. So it makes me want to keep bringing them out to you guys. And as always, don't forget your toilet poncho. Thanks.